Namaste everyone. I hope all of you are doing well and are taking care of yourselves. My name is Brijesh Deb, and I'm really excited to be a part of TestFlex 2021. Well, one of the most popular topics when it comes to testing these days is Agile testing. A lot has been said about it already, and a lot is being said currently. So here is my opportunity to share my thoughts on Agile testing. Before I do that, let me quickly share my slide deck with you. All right. Before I get any further, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Brijesh Deb, and I am an enabler at the Test Chat community. You can find me on Twitter, you can find me on LinkedIn, and you could also find me on Racket, which is the newest platform where there are a lot of testers. Now, Agile testing, what it is? What is it? Everybody is talking about Agile testing these days. Until a few years ago, it was not even a part of the testing vocabulary. But now everybody seems to be talking about it. And one of the most comprehensive definitions of Agile testing comes from two magnificent ladies, Lisa Crispin and Janet Triggery. And they say, Agile testing is collaborative testing practices that occur continuously from inception to delivery and beyond, supporting frequent delivery of value for our customers. Testing activities focus on building quality into the product using fast feedback loops to validate our understanding. The practices strengthen and support the idea of whole team responsibility for quality. Now, this is an absolutely beautiful definition because it encompasses the values and principles of Agile so wonderfully. It talks about collaboration. It talks about whole team responsibility. It talks about innovation. It talks about value creation for the customer. It is such a wonderful definition. Now, before moving further, let's talk about a myth in Agile. Now, when I start talking to somebody about Agile, very soon the conversation turns into a talk about Scrum. While Agile is a culture and agility is a mindset, Scrum is just a way of building that mindset into your project so that you can, deliver the product with a better quality. In a sense, Agile is not equal to Scrum. Moving further, let's look at one of the misconceptions in testing. So when I ask some testers, hey, what do you do? Then they say, oh, we get requirements, we write some test cases, we execute them, we mark them pass or fail, and then for the failed test cases, we write some defects. Okay. It is important to understand that testing is not just about passing or failing a bunch of test cases and uncovering defects. Testing is about learning about the product and discovering the unknown through exploration to enhance product quality and provide that information to the stakeholders so that they can take informed decisions. Now, in Agile testing, there are some common pitfalls. One of them is no or delayed requirements. In a lot of projects, there are no requirements, or the requirements are delayed, or they come to the testers through the developers. Yes, that is true. So what do? What you can do in those situations is collaborate. Collaborate with developers, collaborate with architects, product owners, stakeholders, customers, and your fellow testers. You will get clarity on those requirements. Next is, if you're talking about Scrum, in a lot of situations, people create a separate sprint for testing, which means that testing was not or is not a part of the definition of done. And if it is not a part of your definition of done, how are you marking your feature as complete? It is something to be thought about. And that is why testing in another sprint is a really bad idea. Then we also notice that there is a lack of test strategy. In a lot of projects, people just jump into converting test cases and into automation, into whatever, but they focus less on how to test the feature that is being deployed or the feature that needs to be deployed. Then nobody talks about risk management. They say, oh, there are only 2 weeks. We don't have time for risk management. Let's see how we can test the user stories. That is the ultimate goal. Don't do that. Look for the requirement, look for the risks from the requirements. They will give you tests. Let me share some practices that I have been using and that has been helping me a great deal. Number one is analyze your risk to identify your tests early. Let me give you an example of a risk and a test. Now, in a retail website with web pages with embedded scripts turned off, it was unusable for the users. So I could think of test scenarios such as, does the web page display any warnings or provide any alternate functionalities so that users could still use it with their scripts disabled? Use these kind of tests to aid your test-driven development and help the developers build better unit tests. I will give you another example of a good practice. And that good practice is translate your user stories into tests early. Let's look at an example of a user story and some of the acceptance criteria. The user story is, as a regular customer, I want to reorder items from my previously ordered items so that I don't have to search for them each time. So what it means is that my acceptance criteria would be that my orders option is available in the accounts page. Previously ordered items should be there in the My Orders page. And user should be able to add those previously purchased items directly into the cart without searching for them. So for this, I can immediately think of test cases. What if the item which was previously purchased is currently out of stock? What if the price of that item has changed? What if there is a system error that is blocking that particular functionality? You can think of it, right? So the idea is that you should be able to look at the user story and translate it into tests very early. Let me talk about a couple more good practices. Now you've seen this picture. This is the famous continuous testing model by Dan Ashby, where he talks about the places where you can test within the DevOps loop. Why am I talking about DevOps in an Agile presentation? In my opinion, DevOps is more like an extension of Agile practices. So this is relevant. Here, developers can carry out exploratory tests before they check in their code, right? And you can test early, you can test at each stage, and you can test continuously so that you get better results. And this is what I had to share as a part of this presentation. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Namaste.